Hello viewers, welcome to another new video. In this video, I'm going to talk about ASP.NET Web API CRUD operation using .NET 8.0 and Entity Framework Core complete tutorials. So here's the video summary. We'll talk about like introduction and setup, create .NET 8 web API project in Visual Studio, install required packages, set up a data model. We'll create two different model, create a database context class, then configure connection string. We'll configure two different connection string, configure entity framework core in program.cs file, then database migration and update database. Finally, create controller. Before creating controller, we'll make sure one important things like we'll create a repository, generic repository, so that using generic repository can perform the uh, very nice and good operation. Like generic is less code to do more. So then I configured API routing and Swagger. Finally, test the app using Swagger, and we recap and conclusion. So this is our video summary, and after this end of this video, we'll get this output by running this project. So before starting video, I'm just sharing this. This is the output. We will have a branch and department full code operation, full API list, and also seed data. Using this API, will create some dummy data. So these are the video overview. So let's start by creating fresh new project. So here is my Visual Studio. We are going to create a new project. So create a new project. We create web API project. We search using API, then we'll have the API related project template, ASP.NET Core Web API, and next. Then let's say our project name is HRM app, and we'll save this project into tutorials project. Next. So I already installed different SDK version of .NET framework. So we'll use the latest .NET SDK 8.0, which is more stable. Also .NET 8.0 have the long-term support. We'll use controller for this web API project and enable OpenAPI support. Configure for HTTPS as well. Create project is creating. So just a default project has been created successfully. If we explain about this project, so here is the app setting.json file. We'll make sure connection string here, and into the program.cs file. Using the builder instance, we'll configure entity framework core and database connection string, and this is the entry of this application. This when program is running, here is the entry of this application, and from this program.cs file, program is start. And properties, in the properties for launch settings. So using this configuration, we have a different profile like http and https. These are the application url. Application always use this http for https, this port number. And if we click this project, double click, then we can see the target framework .NET 8.0, and required. If we when we install the required packages, then all the packages we can see here. Later I will show you. So in the controller folder, we'll create controller. So let's start now one by one. So at the beginning, you need like Visual Studio required application and SQL Server and .NET SDK 8.0. Hopefully, you will set up all required things perfectly. So now I'm going to install. As we have created project successfully, now we are going to install entity framework core using terminal. So in the right click in the project, just open in terminal. So I just copy the command, the .NET Entity Framework 8.0. So it is the command .NET add package Microsoft Entity Framework Core 8.0.0, which is the latest version. Already Microsoft released the preview version of 9.0. In the future, I will talk about the .NET SDK 9.0. So entity framework course installed successfully. We'll install another two packages. The first one is SQL Server, and remaining last one is tool. Copy and paste. So we have successfully installed three packages. First one is entity framework core, second one is skill server, and third one is tool. So our package installation is done. Now I'm going to create two different model. First one is the department and second one is branch. And we'll create the base model first, base entity. We will extend the base entity for each model. So now I have to create the folder, models folder. Under that folder I'm going to create three different class. First one is base entity class, base entity.cs. So we have a common entity like id, created date and updated date, which is common for each table. So that's why we are going to we created this base entity, and we will extend this base entity from each model class. Now I will create department class now and extend the base entity. Class department.cs, and we'll extend to the base entity so that we can get the base entity properties in this department class. And in this department class, we'll add some other fields like name, description, and address. So our department class is ready. Now we have another class, which is branch class. For more understanding this tutorial, we are going to create two different model and two different controller, and we'll create two different API so that you can understand more clearly and call two different APIs simultaneously. So branch extend base entity. Also, branch controller have two properties, name and description. Make it simple. So our model part is done. Now we are jump to the next part, which is create database context class. So I'm going to create a database context class, application DB context, into the data folder. So now I'm going to create a new folder, which is data folder. Data. In this folder, I'm going to create new class, application DB context. Application DB context will extend and DB context. So Now we will add a DB set for branch and the department. I'm just copying the code so that it will be more faster. So we have two different model, branch and department, and our application DB context class is ready now. And now our next step is configure connection string. Uh, Connection string into app setting.json file. I will create two different connection strings so that you can use any one based on your SQL Server settings. So if you have a Windows authentication SQL Server, you can use the first one, and if you have a SQL Server authentication like username and password into SQL Server, then you can use the second one. So let me show you how you can use and add the. So first one is no create, like it will use Windows authentication. Second one is a username and password for SQL Server, and for .NET 8 you have to add one additional parameter, which is trusted certificate true, unless you'll get an error. So app setting.json file is ready. Now our next part is configure connection string, that configure entity framework code in program.cs file. In program.cs file, I'm going to configure entity framework code. So now create configure entity framework code in a program.cs file. So let me just clear the program.cs file. Here is the builder.instance. Using this instance, we can create uh, configure entity framework code. So using builder dot services dot add scope. Here we are going to add application DB context. So we have just configured entity framework code. Now we have to make sure the MS SQL DB connection string. So we'll read the connection string and pass the connection string into SQL Server. So connection string done. Now our next step is database migration. So if we check the application app setting.json file as database name is web API, so I have to change the database name. So our database name is HRMFDB. HRMFDB. We'll create migration and update database using command line. So here's the command. Let me just copy. .NET EF migration at initial create. Migration created successfully. Now I will update the database. So fully database will update successfully without any issue. And DB connection issue as well. Yes, database update successfully. Now our next mission is create or run migration, create controller for CRUD operation. If we check our to-do list here again, so we just completed up to 7 or 8. Now create controller. Before creating controller, I will incorporate or add new thing, new item here, which is create generic repository, so that using that repository we can perform CRUD operation more smartly. So in the data folder, I'm going to add a repository. I will create interface first, then we'll extend the interface, implement the interface. Data, add new class, I repository, public, sorry, no, it will be interface, not class. I repository, T, where T is a class. Now I'll incorporate different method here. So first one is get all async, second one is get by async, third one is find by condition async, add, update, delete, save changes. So our interface is ready. Now we have to implement this interface repository by creating a repository class, add new class, repository class. So I'll explain a repository class step by step, but before explaining, let me just copy the code so that it will be faster. So here we extend the repository, I repository, and passing the entity T, and also extend the base entity. So also we inject the application DB instance here. We have a context using the convoy. We have a two instance here, context and entity. Using these two instance, we will perform the get all operation, entity dot to list. And using context, we already set the entities here. And we have get by operation, find by condition operation, add operation, update operation, and delete asynchronous operation. Also, we have create another method, save changes asynchronously. So our I repository, the repository is ready. Now we have to add instance into Program.cs file. As it is generic, so we have to pass type of I repository. Type of I repository. So instance, we have add the service here, repository service. Now we'll create two controller. First one is uh, department, and second one is branch controller. Before creating controller, let me just add one class for data, generating data, seed data class. This is optional. Seed data class, just preparing data so that we can check and test the API properly. Get branch and get department. So I just added some dummy data here. So department and the branch list. Now I'm going to create first like seed data controller so that we can create data first. Add new controller, API controller, empty, seed data controller. Add. First we have to inject, we have to initialize the repository and the department branch repository and department repository, so that we can add two different to uh, data to into two tables. So seed data controller is ready. If we execute this controller, it will add data by pulling the static data from here. Now we have to our pending item is creating two different controller. Let me create first branch controller and new controller, API empty controller, and name is branch controller, and second one is the department controller. Controller API empty and department controller. So initially we just create instance department repository, and using this instance we perform all CRUD operation here step by step. Same goes for branch controller. First we have to create instance. So benefit of repository pattern, we just pass the class name here branch, and using this instance, uh, this is the constructor, and we just create instance here using this branch repository. We are getting data get all and returning okay, and this is the API var get all branch, and also get by branch, and also get by branch name for searching, and all branch and update branch. We just pass the instance, pass the entity object here, and finally we make sure the save operation. So we have done like up to 9 create controller. Now configure API routing and Swagger. Already we have configured here a Swagger already configured. Now we have to configure just one more thing, so which is uh, add policy. So add policy has been added successfully. Let me try by running the project. Hopefully we'll execute our two different API branch and department without any issue or errors. So build successfully, and if we run the project, then we can have the Swagger documentation UI into the browser. Index.html. So at the beginning of this video tutorial, we just shared this screen. So now we have successfully created this screen branch and department and seed data. Now first we'll execute this seed data so that the data will create it into the database. If we create the execute, then data is creating. Oh, oops, we are getting error saving entity. Cannot insert value null into the address. See data name description address. address. We have to make sure address as well. Let's say TBD, to be declared. So hopefully this time we'll be able to execute the program successfully, especially the seed data controller, API controller. If we go to the seed data controller and try now execute, department added 4, branch added 0 because branch already executed successfully. And if we check the get all branch type, hopefully we'll able to get the 4 list for department. So uh, our API is working as expected. Now if we summarize, the test using Swagger also done, and recap and conclusion. Recap and conclusion. Before closing this video, now I am going to explain this entire journey again. So here is the video summary. First, you have to make sure some required software like Visual Studio, SQL Server, and .NET SDK 8.0. You can check your .NET version using the command line like CLS .NET version. So I already installed 8.0. And if you have latest Visual Studio and .NET SDK 8.0 and SQL Server, then you can definitely perform this. You can run this project without any issue. Create .NET 8 Web API project using Visual Studio. Install, I already explained step by step. Install Native Framework Core. And required packages, we just install required packages, NuGet packages using a terminal. Set up the model. We have created two different model. First one is a department. We have created first base model, then branch and department model with a few entities. Next, what we have done, like configure database data application DB context. In the data folder, we have created application DB context by adding the entity and make sure extending the entity framework code DB context. And then we have updated the application.json file for connection string. We have added two connection string here. You can use any one based on your needs. And then we make sure the database migration, we just complete migration using terminal. You can create migration and update database using tools and PMI package manager console, NuGet package manager console, this one. Next, we have done before creating controller, we have just create a repository, a generic repository. So we first created the interface, then we extend the interface into a repository class. So here's the important two things. First, we inject in context, then we pass using this context. We just uh, and also create the instance of entities. So we have created a repository. Also, we make sure add this service into program.cs file here. Then we created controller branch. I will explain just branch controller. First, we just created repository, branch repository by passing the class name branch. and we just make sure the instance of the branch repository here. Using this instance, we just perform full CRUD operation: get by, add branch, update branch, and delete branch. And this is the HTTP API verb. HTTP port for update, post for add operation, get for just get all data. So five different HTTP verb, and we just make sure that route name here. So this is the overall explanation of this video. Hopefully you understand everything. If you have any confusion or queries, you just let me know in the comment section. I will share the entire project source code into the video description by uploading this project into the GitHub. So this is the complete video how you can create complete CRUD operation using .NET 8.0 or with the entity framework core and by connecting SQL Server. So thank you for watching this video. Hopefully we'll add more video in the next upcoming days. Till then, bye bye. I'm just running the project one more time so that you can check the output. Let's get all department, try execute.